On a lighter note, what do you think about Elon's gestures? Autistic or actual salute? I have no idea what form or what brand of autism you would have, where you were like doing, or shit, I did the wrong one. Fuck, I'm such a bad, fuck, that's like me trying to say the N-word. I don't practice enough. Not that, I'm sorry. Whatever the thing is, this one. Doing that twice, that was so fucking weird. The problem is there's like three explanations. Either one, he's an actual Nazi signaling other Nazis, which, I hate to say this, I don't think is the case. Two, he has autism and did that, which is definitely not the case. I've seen so many autistic people in my life and I've never seen them make Nazi salutes. Or three, he knows what it is and he's doing it to troll the media while also signaling to far-right people that they're chill. It's because he's like backing out, or he's backing up like all the crazy fucking far-right parties in all of Europe, which is really weird too. I think it's that one, which is almost as bad, I think, as him being a Nazi. But I guess just as a quick, fuck, I should have said, I haven't, bro, this has been a wild week for me, okay? Like, give me some slack, give me some grace. People have been posting screenshots. Fuck, if I had the videos, this is what I would show you. People have been posting screenshots of like AOC and Nancy Pelosi, like doing this. But like when you watch the whole video, they're like, you know, like this. There is not a single video of like this shit, like all over I haven't seen a single video of any Democrat doing it. If you haven't seen the videos of Elon doing it, you should watch the videos. I'm going to be honest, okay? And I'm trying to be so careful to protect my mind because sometimes people go too far to the right, sometimes people go too far to the left. I'm trying not to like get mind fucked by, you know, media lying. When I first saw it come out, I'm like, did he really do the Nazi salute? Like, I'm sure he just like has this thing. Then I saw the video of him doing the thing where it's like, where he did that. And I'm like, ooh, okay. Well, at the very least, I feel like you should know about that such that you wouldn't do it, right? Now it's like really, really, really bad, no matter what. But then I saw the video of him doing it twice. The full video of him turning, and then I'm like, wait, what the fuck? Why? People try to post the videos comparing these things, but...
Because we're not going back. We're not going back. Because we're not going back. We're not going back.
Does anybody have the second angle of him doing this? There's one from like the rafters or whatever. It's super, super, super fucking weird. Doesn't it make more sense that he was throwing his heart out to the crowd as evidenced by the fact that he made a comment prior about sending his heart out to the crowd? This is what I would say. This is what I would be curious for, right? And I'm going to ask this question in bad faith. Well, it's not really bad faith, but like can somebody show me a single video of any US politician ever doing anything remotely similar to what Elon did? That's all I would want to see. Just one time. Just one run of that. I would be curious if there was a single link of this ever happening. This is so fucking weird. This is one angle. This is him sending love out to people. Like why? Like how? It's just so fucking weird. It's so fucking weird. Sorry I'm late. Is Elon a Nazi or just memeing or autistic? My personal feeling on this is, he even tucked his thumb in. Yeah. My personal feeling on this is that Elon knows what he's doing, but he's not actually a Nazi, but he's doing it to show that he's like cool with that crowd of people and then to troll the media a little bit. But that's almost as bad as just being a Nazi. Like,
There's value to a culture. I think there is value to a culture, you know, and we don't want Japan to disappear. We don't want Italy as a culture to disappear. We don't want France as a culture to disappear. I think we have to maintain the sort of reasonable cultural identity of the various countries, or they simply will not be those countries.
One thing that's also really painful too, and I have to figure out how to navigate this. Fuck, dude, it's so hard. It's not fun. I don't like it. I don't like it because so much of like me talking about stuff or so much of me navigating political spaces on the internet is just figuring out like how many people actually believe this versus how many are just trolls versus how many are bots versus how many people are actually genuinely confused. One of the frustrating things, so like that Sam Hyde video, for instance, that Sam Hyde video was just a full on 100% like love letter to neo-Nazism. Like was like in every way, size, shape, or form. Like there's so many, I don't even want to call it dog whistles. Like it was just like overt, blatant stuff. And now you don't want to fall into the trap of like over recognizing dog whistles. Did you watch the second Sam Hyde video? I have not. You don't want to run into the trap. Do you remember there was a time several years ago, I think it was around the Rittenhouse time, where every time somebody did this, people were like, Nazi, it's a fucking Nazi, it's a fucking Nazi, it's a Nazi. And it's like, okay, this is getting kind of silly. But
I think there is.
I spent so much time debating these people like 10 years ago, 8 years ago, that I'm so familiar with the culture. I don't know how much, maybe it's changed a lot, probably not, but.
I think there is value to a culture, and we don't want Japan to disappear. We don't want Italy as a culture to disappear. We don't want France as a culture to disappear. I think we have to maintain the sort of reasonable cultural identity of the various countries, or they simply will not be those countries. Italy is the people of Italy. The buildings are there, but really, what is Italy? Italy is the people of Italy. Yeah.
Like, another thing, too, that you have to, and even my audience is not good at this. I don't know how to make you guys good at this. You have to be able to separate out, like, people that are just racist from people that are, like, neo-Nazis. I wish there was a different name for it, because when I say neo-Nazi, I know that a lot of people either turn their brain off or just don't think about it anymore. But, like, neo-Nazis don't have to be, in a lot of the typical ways, like racist at all. Like there are a lot of neo-Nazis that can be totally cool having, black friends and Jewish, well, maybe not Jewish, maybe Jewish friends, if they're self-hating Jews, or Indian friends or whatever. They can have friends of all different races. They can appreciate other cultures. They can appreciate other peoples. They can appreciate so much. Like neo-Nazis are not just like white trash racist people. It's not the same thing. It's like neo-Nazism is a whole ass ideology. I wouldn't even go as far as to say, some people might take issue with this. I'm not a scholar on this. This is my personal feeling. I wouldn't even say neo-Nazis are like white supremacists. I would say that white supremacists are different and dumber. It's like a different thing, white supremacy versus like neo-Nazi stuff. Yeah, maybe ethno-nationalist might be better, although that gets a little bit hairy because how you even define ethnicity, like theoretically, I might be an ethno-nationalist if you say like, well, the ethnicity of an American is a person who shares like democratic values and blah, blah, blah. That whatever an ethnicity is can get like really complicated for a variety of reasons. I don't know. But people that are neo-Nazis will say things like this, but like racists and white supremacists won't say things like this. Like a racist will say, we don't want any of them browns, any of them darkies in our country. They're savages, right? And then a white supremacist might say, we don't want Indians or black people like tearing our country down. Like America should be for white people because we need to take care of our own and these people make us worse. But a neo-Nazi, and this is so important to understand because I'm really scared that we've either already crossed this threshold or we're prepared to cross the threshold. A neo-Nazi will say, like, Indian culture is beautiful and unique, and different African cultures can be beautiful and unique, and they might even be able to make our country better economically in some ways. However, America should be for white people. India should be for Indian people. Japan should be for Japanese people. And we can enjoy our stuff via free trade or via the internet, and that's fine. But every country should have their own people and their own culture that's defined by the people of that country. Because culture is a phenotype. It's a thing that emerges from a genotype. It emerges from an ethnic shared ancestry. And so necessarily, if you outbreed all of the native Italians or native Frenchmen or native Americans who they say are like Anglo-Saxons or fucking white European descendants, whatever the fuck that means, which changes every decade, you're losing something there. So like the neo-Nazi stuff is a lot different than just racism or white supremacy. And if you mix those two things up, you're going to constantly get into traps where you're accusing somebody of being a neo-Nazi, or you're accusing somebody of being like a racist or white supremacist, and they're not really. And they really won't even be. And I do believe that for a decent chunk of them, they won't be racist, and they won't even necessarily be white supremacist. They're just saying that like everybody needs a country for their own people, so why can't white people have that? And you have to be ready to take that argument like on as it exists, because yeah, it's different. It's a lot different. Like what Elon says here, you can never attack from a white supremacist or a racist standpoint, but it does jive hardcore with neo-Nazi sentiment. Now, I don't know if he said more stuff. I don't know if I even want to know, but yeah. I feel like when they say culture, it's a dog whistle, because most people, e.g. in the UK, feel non-white people can uphold British culture, but neo-Nazis never do it if you push them. It depends on how sophisticated the neo-Nazi you're talking to is. What a neo-Nazi will say is that brown people, first generation, second generation, maybe can uphold English culture, maybe for a little bit, but they're being forced to do it. Anybody can be forced to uphold something, but they'll have a whole bunch of like genetic studies, and they'll have a whole bunch of like behavioral data where they'll say, there's a concept they'll call it like return to the mean, that sure, maybe a first or second generation immigrant can uphold British customs, but by the third or fourth generation, those genetic proclivities are going to come through in the grandchildren and in the great-grandchildren. And those great-great-grandchildren, those great-great Indian grandchildren are not going to be British in the same way that a Johnson or a Smith or whatever the fucking British names are, Spencer or whatever, are going to be English. It's not going to be the same, and they're going to revert to the mean of wherever it is they came from. There's a reason why those countries look that way, and we don't want Britain to look that way, so we should exclude these, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. Yeah, it's a lot. It's just a way more sophisticated set of arguments. The reason why, doesn't this imply that neo-Nazis can exist insidiously because there's no real way you can distill their motivations from their rationale? I mean, the motivations are pretty simple. If you take them at their word, they just want a white place for white people, basically. And that, well, but then there's also like this whole attached thing of, there's this whole attached Jewish thing too. I don't know what it is, bro. Jewish. The only problem is neo-Nazis seem to be so ambiguous without a strict definition. Neo can imply so many things. Yeah, I guess. I would just say that like, in my mind, the key tenets of neo-Nazism are going to be things like culture emerges from genes. So culture is a phenotype. A phenotype is just an expression of a gene. So like blue eyes will be a phenotype, and the genotype will be whatever the sequence of bullshit is, right? So culture is a phenotype that necessarily emerges from unique genotypes that are shared among ancestors, like ethnic ancestry. That's like one key tenet of a neo-Nazi. And then the second one is usually involving some form of Jewish conspiratorial stuff. The Jewish conspiracy stuff is important because it explains why white people have lost the ability to advocate for themselves. I don't know how deep that goes. I haven't gone that deep, but like supposedly, like Jewish people want to destroy white people by forcing them to hate themselves, and that's where all of like the Marxist education, and that's where all of the imperialist education, that's why they'll point to like Jewish authors and liberal arts that make white people self-hating and make us throw ourselves under the bus and blame ourselves for slavery and all that. And the reason why Jewish people do that is to make white people hate themselves so that they welcome immigrants that outbreed them and dilute the white race, basically, so we can't advocate for ourselves. But yeah, that's also why, Candace Owens did this dog whistle. That's why Jews invented porn, to destroy the white man's desire to procreate or whatever. But yeah. Are you sure that neo-Nazi is even the right word here? If a Japanese person held the same opinion about wanting Japan to remain Japanese, I don't think anyone would call them neo-Nazis. Seems like xenophobia is more accurate. Well, I mean, if the Japanese person believed in weird Jewish conspiracy stuff, then maybe. But another thing, people make this flaw, especially with Israel. Neo-Nazis love to do this. But it's true, Japan is a really common example too. People say there's nothing wrong with Japanese people wanting to keep Japan Japanese. Or they'll say, well, how can you defend Israel's ethno-nationalist immigration policies? And the answer is, those are different countries with different sets of values that exist for different reasons. In Japan, there might be a shared ethnic background of Japanese people that are Japanese, that like literally like the ethnic, this is a thing that I wish would change. I wish that I wish that we use different words to describe ethnicity, race, and nationality, because in some cases it's very fucking confusing. Jewish is the worst because Jews are the worst. No, I'm just kidding. Because you've got the Jewish religion, which nobody talks about. Then you have the Jewish ethnicity, which is what most people talk about. And then you have, wait, there was a third one. Israeli, I guess. Religion, ethnicity, and I guess Jewish, like, oh, nationality, I guess. So yeah, although they'll try to say Israeli sometimes, but yeah. But listen, Israel has their ethnic limitations on their immigration, because they feel like if they don't have those, it'll be destroyed as a country. You can agree or disagree. You're well within your rights to agree or disagree. We have our own ethnic, or we have our nationality restrictions on our immigration in the United States. For instance, for our legal immigrants, no more than 8% can come from any individual country per year. And then Japan can do their stuff as they want. Like it's Japan, they've got Japanese ethnic background, and they have the Japanese nation. In the United States of America, though, we were kind of built on this idea of immigration. Like a lot of new world countries are kind of built around these ideas of immigration. So to say that, well, why can't the United States have the same type of immigration policy as you know, these other countries? Well, we're a different country with a different set of values. And I personally, I reject those arguments. I don't think that's I wouldn't want to just copy some other country's value when we don't have the same like underlying truths in terms of like shared ethnic background as much. So Destiny, it's only Nazism when it's the US but not Japan. Okay. If that's what you took from what I just said, then good luck, buddy. Have you thought about using another term? Neo and neo-Nazi seem so ambiguous and could imply many things. I don't know. I don't know what else you would call it, because I don't like to say Nazi, because I think Nazis was more specific. Like Nazi more specifically referred to like the Nazi party, the Nazi ideology of Hitler, and would be more exclusionary and more white supremacist than I think neo-Nazis are. So like I think that Nazi stuff, I think that like, fuck, I don't want to step out of line too much because I haven't done like all the fucking Nazi historical research, but like I think Nazis were explicitly like white supremacists, like Aryan supremacists. I don't feel like neo-Nazis bend in that direction as much. Maybe they would if they had more power, or maybe if you like pushed them on it, maybe they would. I just haven't like had that intimate of a conversation with a neo-Nazi maybe. But instead of a word, what are the main arguments against why neo-Nazis are bad, and what are the things that are harmful that come from it? Well, for the United States of America, I feel that our, like the thing, I had a big arc on this. So in the beginning, when I became more like progressive, there was kind of like this cringe, like diversity is our greatest strength. And I kind of like would say that, I don't know, because diversity is good and all that, I guess, whatever. And then I was like, okay, diversity is obviously not our greatest strength. There's a whole bunch of great strengths we have, and that's not necessarily, that's kind of like an arbitrary bullshit word that doesn't mean anything. Diversity how? Like, I don't know. But now, I do think diversity is our greatest strength. And by that I mean, one of the things that makes America so great is so many different people can come here and exist here and contribute and thrive. Those last two are really important. Anybody can come here and be, there was that quote that I heard that's like my favorite, one of my favorite quotes about America is America allows you, if you're able to, allows you to become the best version of yourself more than any other country and contribute. You can do things here that make the country better and sometimes the whole world better, depending on what you're researching. In order for that to work, I don't think we can look to a singular race of people to make that work. I think we have to look to people that are willing to adopt a shared set of ideas that don't necessarily come from a person's race, but can be adopted by theoretically any person that wants to come here and contribute and thrive in those ways. So I think that the problem with being a neo-Nazi, oh, I'm glad you brought this up. Oh no. The problem with being a neo-Nazi is I think it makes the country a worse place. I think, without even getting into any moral parts, because fuck the morality of it, I don't even care that much. I think it would just make us all worse off. Do you agree with Elon on H-1B? I agree on the total, like the outcome. Like I think H-1B visas are good, but not because of how Elon Musk advocates for them. He just wants cheap labor. Yeah. It was one of these like liberal, Was it Project Liberal, the Twitter? Hold on, I gotta find this. By your definition, Sam Hyde and Fuentes wouldn't be neo-Nazi then, right? Both of them constantly harp on white supremacy and preserving the white race. They literally are racist and hate browns, especially their followers. I don't know if I would say Fuentes is like racist in the traditional sense. I don't know enough about Sam Hyde. I'm not sure. I don't know if I'm just not familiar enough with either content. Like, I know they'll shit on other races sometimes, but it's hard to separate the memery from the true feelings. But they could also be white supremacists and they could be racist. But the ideology part of the neo-Nazi stuff is a lot different than just being a racist. Fuentes is not traditionally racist. What do you mean? Like, there will be like brown groypers, and he had that thing where he went to that dude's house and they had the birthday shit, and I think they recorded a song. I don't remember if he was in the background or whatever. Like, it's just a different thing. Like, a traditionally like KKK tier racist guy would never ever do that. Just a different thing. What's the benefit of making these distinctions? Because you can't solve a problem if you don't understand where it's coming from. And if you just run around like screaming like racist, you're not understanding. One, you don't understand the complaints of these people. The amount of charity is insane. Bro, I can't. I need you guys to be better than this, okay? I can't today, just not today. Give me a month and I could deal with the retard questions, okay? I'm not trying to be charitable to anybody. I'm not trying to be nice by saying he's not racist. It's not a compliment, okay? I'm not trying to be charitable or steelman or whatever. I'm just trying to, as precisely as possible, identify the thing. There's a different type of racism that exists from a guy who would lynch a black dude who doesn't want any black people in versus a neo-Nazi who has a different ideology. They might, in some ways, they're going to appear similar, but it's just a different thing. I'm not trying to say, oh, he's not racist, he's a good guy. It's not the same thing. Even in the past when I was saying, I think Fuentes is angling away from like the neo-Nazi shit, which I still maintain that he was before the Kanye stuff. That doesn't mean that I think that, oh, well, look, he's a great guy now. I just think that the problems that you had to identify and the way that you responded to it was a bit different. Isn't this called white nationalism? You could call it white nationalism or ethno-nationalism, sure. Would you not consider anti-Semitism a central part of neo-Nazism? I think I said that. Didn't I say that had to be one of the two prongs? I think that almost all neo-Nazism I think necessitates some form of like Jewish conspiracy. The last shooter was a black raper. I haven't read about that at all, but I'll get to that maybe today. He said your name in the manifesto? Oh no, what did he say about me? Did he like me? I don't understand how come minority groups become neo-Nazi. Do they not see that their own prosperity is a product of ethnic and cultural diversity? I mean, like, they might literally feel like depending on how their ideology works, they might feel like they're one of the lucky ones who got into like the white state, and they just want to stay here and not let more of their own people come and ruin it, basically. Kind of like how I feel when I'm in a group of people and I'm the only gamer, and they're like, we should let more gamers in. I'm like, let's not let in more gamers or internet people. I'm just kidding. No, actually, I'm not at all. But are you pretty much saying that a KKK-style racist would kill someone the second they get the chance, while a Spencer or Fuentes-style racist would bide their time until their chance of a final solution? Maybe. I think the big difference between like a Nazi and a neo-Nazi is I think the Nazis like legitimately wanted to exterminate everybody that they thought was lesser than them, whereas I think, and I could be wrong, and actually it might even be divided in the community, for neo-Nazis, if you gave them two buttons to push, one, you totally destroy a whole group of people, and the second button, you just send all of them back to their own country, whatever the fuck that means in their mind. I think like 50-50, half of them would push the kill all button, and the other half would push the, oh, just send them all back to their own country button, you know? I think. I could be wrong on that, though. Like I said, I haven't dove like that deep into all of that. The Nazis started with removal and deportation. Yeah, they did initially, but I'm trying to think. Did the Nazis ever deport any Jews? Or did they just deport them to camps? Because it felt initially, Ooh, I have a really, really, really bad reading of World War II. So, like, I have not studied this in depth at all. The vibe I got was that they were like, if you want to leave, I guess you can leave. But then when Germany realized like how strong they were and how many countries they were conquering, it was like, okay, well, hold on. If we're this fucking good, well, then fuck leaving. We're just going to kill all of you. Like, this is way more base. Like, we're not going to let you go anywhere. We're just going to kill all of you. That's the vibe I got. That like initially they deported because it was like, I mean, what are we going to do? And then I guess post 40, I don't even know, the good years or whatever, the good years, yikes. They were like, oh, well, hold on, I know exactly what I can do. We can kill them all. From my understanding, Destiny, it was the use of transport trains to camps, rarely deporting. Sometimes, yeah. Some of them did try to like escape or be deported or whatever. This is one of the reasons why early Israelis, or early Jews, I guess, hated Palestinians so much. Is because after the Arab revolts in the late 30s in Palestine, or the British Mandate for Palestine, the Brits were pissed off at the Arabs. They crushed the Palestinian elite. But then they looked at the Jews and they were like, you guys are giving us way too much of a fucking headache down here. Like, literally kill yourselves. Fuck you. And then the Jews were like, okay, well, what do you mean? They're like, well, no more of you guys are going to Palestine. It's too much of a headache for us. And the Jews were like, okay, well, that's kind of bullshit because now we're dying in concentration camps. And the Brits were like, A+ for you. So a lot of Jews were really angry with Britain and with early Palestinians because they're like, I think there was a famous story of like an actual, like a huge ship with like 500 plus people. Does anybody know the name of this ship that like was on its way and then got turned around? And then I think all of those people went back to camps and died. And they're like, okay, well, fuck us, I guess. That's the reason why a lot of early Jews are not to justify taking over, Palestine in any way or whatever. I'm not to say anything else. I'm just saying that, yeah. I will say, so we can get on the good side of some people politically, maybe, because I would be the strongest Palestinian debater because all of these people, including the supposed scholars, are fucking completely uneducated, is if Netanyahu remains in power and is allowed to like carry out what looks to be his like grand design, holy fuck, what an unmitigated fucking disaster for the Palestinians. I cannot believe like an actual bandit within 6 months, Netanyahu like completely turned around his political destiny in fucking Israel. Like, but I need to read more into this. I'm not as educated. I've only been like, I think I read like a couple like 4-minute articles on it. Although strangely, I haven't seen the Young Turks or anybody being super ass pain. They turned away the ocean liner St. Louis in New York with 1,000 Jews. Damn. Yeah, I saw Trump talking about how like that's a huge thing too. If Netanyahu were to just go to Trump and be like, listen, okay? Listen, okay? Now, there's a whole bunch of people here, okay? The fuck? Oh, images, that's not what I wanted. What the fuck? Why did this not just take me to Google Maps? Whatever. There's a whole bunch of people here in the Gaza Strip, okay? They need a place to go, right? And check this out. You've got this wonderful Arab country called Egypt and this empty-ass fucking Sinai. All of them could just go here, right? I feel like Netanyahu could say this to Trump. Trump would be like, damn, that's a good idea, actually. Wait, there's all this space here. Why the fuck don't we just like push them all out and have them go live here? Like, speaking of the Young Turks, did you see that Anna Quote tweeted about you? I did. Anna, that's the same one who was doing the camel toe ratings 15 years ago on the Young Turks, right? I'm good on that, Chief. Shouldn't Netanyahu literally be in jail, or is that just a talking point? I feel like I read about this like one time, and I only have the impression that I was left with coming away. The impression that I was left with coming away was that Netanyahu is fucked up pretty bad. That was the impression that I had. But I would have to dig into it or whatever, yeah. 15 years ago? Wait, did I just misspeak on something when I said 15 years ago? Oh, over the Young Turk shit. Oh, they used to do camel toe ratings in their show. Okay, fuck it. Fuck them, okay. I don't need lectures from that. Hey, Jimmy Dore brought it up, okay? You're lucky that I said 15 years ago. Most people wouldn't have even given the date, okay? I'm just being in good faith. Safe to say that BB is hardcore annexing mode? Well, remember, the key to the Israeli game is demographics. Demographics. That is always the key. That's the only thing that matters. So Israel does not want to annex the Gaza Strip. One, because it's shit land. Well, I mean, like, it's pretty, but they don't need it. They've got ports. They don't need, like, they have access to the Mediterranean. They don't need Gaza. But the biggest issue here is 2 million fucking Palestinians. Now, if they can kick all 2 million Palestinians out, or at least a significant portion of them, like over 1 million of them out, well, that changes the math on a potential annexation quite significantly. I don't remember the numbers anymore. Fuck, what was it? Is it 9 million in Israel, 7 million Jews, 2 million Arabs? And then the West Bank is 5 million Arabs, 5 million Arab Palestinians. Population. Oh no, 3 million. Oh, it's 5 million total. West Bank plus the Gaza Strip is 5 million Palestinian Arabs. And then in Israel, as citizens of Israel, that's 2 million Palestinian Arabs and 7 million Jewish Israelis. So it's about 7 million each. Would kicking all the Palestinians out be genocide? Sort of like the Trail of Tears. But I think I remember you weren't sold on that being a genocide. If I'm not sold on the Trail of Tears being a genocide, it's just because I don't know if applying genocide retroactively like that is appropriate. And I don't know enough of the details about the Trail of Tears. I don't know if the goal was to have like a bunch of people killed then. Hey, She-Sherp, 222, thank you for the 10 gifted subs. Also, Nimrod, thank you for the 10 gifted subs. Oh, a fuck ton of people, I think, died on the Trail of Tears. Was it over half? A lot of people died on that. This wouldn't technically be a genocide either, though, but it would definitely be an ethnic cleansing. But I feel like people just want to use these words to, you know. Are there any Jews in Gaza? Obviously, the West Bank has settlements. So in Gaza proper, there used to be a few Jews that lived there. But in 2005, at the end of the Second Intifada, Ariel Sharon, who was the prime minister at the time, kicked all of them out. He wanted to take everybody out of the West Bank and everybody out of the Gaza Strip and do a full disengagement and say, fuck it. Because Sharon thought that the future of Israel would be doomed trying to hold on to both of these pieces of land, which it probably would have been. He was able to get full disengagement from Gaza, and I think 3 settlements destroyed and withdrawn from the West Bank, but not the rest. But since 2005, I don't believe there are any Jewish Israelis living in Gaza. Or maybe there's like 3 or so, I don't know. But like in general, no, there aren't any settlements anymore. They used to be in this, I think they were in the north here, Gaza City, I think around here. There was like a line of settlements. What does applying genocide retroactively mean? If genocide didn't exist September 4, 1941, when considering the Jews in Europe, you wouldn't call the Holocaust a genocide. The term was coined in 1944. Yeah, but I think the term was coined to describe the Holocaust. That was a huge part of it, right? And I think the guy was considering the Holodomor as well, but the Soviet Union was on the Security Council, and I think that they didn't go that direction. Although technically, I don't think any state has even been convicted of the crime of genocide. Although a couple individual actors have, by the ICC, over the Bosnian stuff, I think. Do you feel like misusing words like neo-Nazi and genocide is a much bigger problem on the left from an optics point of view? So the problem with misusing the words is that it's not that people are just misusing the words and then they're like, oh, okay, I understand, and then they move on. The problem is people are trying to simplify the issues, or they're just not understanding the reasons why people are thinking the things they are. And if you don't understand why people are thinking the things they are, and you just call them all like racist or whatever, you miss like the nuance, you miss everything. And if you can't identify a problem, you can't fix a problem, right? Destiny, with Trump as president, Assad regime ousted from Syria, and Hezbollah effectively crippled, would now be the best time for Israel to expel Palestinians from the West Bank if they really wanted to? Yeah, for sure. Especially as other Arab states, because I think Saudi Arabia and I think Qatar and the UAE, didn't they, I'm going by headlines here because last week I've not been reading so much. Didn't they all kind of like normalize relations again? Like they're all kind of like, hey, like, okay, we're chill again. So I think Israel is probably now, again, unless I'm missing something that's happened or I just haven't read deep enough into things, I think Israel is probably in the Zionist faction, or the ultra-Zionist faction of Israel is probably in the strongest position they've ever been in, at least in recent history, or ever, maybe right now. They're probably in a super, super, super strong position. Like, just think of like how good, how up you are. Like the Houthis have gotten fucked a bit. Hamas has gotten radically fucked. Hezbollah has gotten radically fucked. Of the 3 major warring states against Israel historically, it's been Syria, Egypt, and Jordan. Syria and Egypt were actually one country for, I think, like 10 years, starting in 66, maybe 5 or 10 years. They were actually one country, which was weird. But Egypt has made peace with you since 79. Jordan has made peace with you since 94. And now Syria is a failed state. And you didn't even have real borders with Syria. Like, Syrian borders were never formalized. I think the last opportunity, I think, for some kind of negotiation of an actual border, it was with, was it Barak or Rabin? I think it was with Rabin and Hafez al-Assad, but he was, I think Rabin like got cold feet and didn't trust him. And then after that, it was like fucked. So they didn't even have real borders with them. So if Israel wanted to like take over parts of Syria or like settle up or expand their borders a little bit, they could do it because Syria and Israel don't even have real borders. They never agreed to it. They're just, Israel is just up so good right now. It's just insane how undeserved Netanyahu, or maybe he deserved it, I don't know. It's just insane, yeah. Like if you were a Palestinian right now, you are in like dire straits. You are super fucked. Trump is the president, so the US doesn't give a fuck about you. Nobody in the Middle East likes you at all. Your only ally was Iran and the Iranian proxies, which are all now in complete and utter disarray or dismemberment. Saudi Arabia and Qatar never normalized relations with Israel, at least not publicly. Oh, okay. I thought I'd read that Saudi Arabia and Qatar were like were either considering or already had. But yeah, Jesus, it's just, yeah, it's insane. Stop saying Qatar. It's like Qatar. I think Qatar or something. It's some bullshit like that. Qatar is a closer way to pronounce it correctly than Qatar, though. Some people say Qatar, but I think Qatar is closer than Qatar. Is not even remotely close to it, but. I'm sorry, I shouldn't make fun of that, I'm sorry. Then what's really stopping Israel from committing real genocide? This is gonna be like mean, or not mean, nobody, I don't care. If you're pro-Palestinian, if you don't watch me anyway, I don't think the Israeli people are a genocidal people. I don't think they wanna kill, even the Zionists, I don't think want to kill all of the Palestinians. They just want them to leave. I don't know if, like, keep in mind, Israel hosts a lot of its own criticism. Like B'Tselem is like a human rights org that I'm pretty sure started just to track Israeli crimes against Palestinians. So as long as you've got like left-leaning publications like Haaretz, as long as you have people, you know, that are staffing like B'Tselem, as long as you have your left parties in Israel. Oops, sorry, we're right up here. Wait, where the fuck, bro? Look at this map. Israel's not going to be genociding any of these people, but they definitely want to kick them the fuck out. Why do you try to natively pronounce Arabic countries instead of the anglicized versions? I don't think I try to natively pronounce any of them. I just think Qatar is like decently close. I'm not trying to say like Qatar or whatever the fuck. It's just Qatar. But I could try if you want me to. If you want me to. Khaza. Trying to, why can't you call genocides retroactively? I mean, you can. I don't know how I feel about like applying like formal understandings and definitions of crimes to things in the past when like everybody conducted themselves that way. Like it feels like a lot of more like there's a lot of like moral, not compulsion, not accusation. There's a moral weight. There's a word I'm looking for. Retardism, yeah. There's a lot of like moral condemnation, I guess, that goes along with certain terms. And if it's a time when everybody is like conducting warfare that way, I just don't know if it would make sense to say that it's like, oh, everybody's trying to genocide each other. I'm not sure. I get what you mean, but like it was bad that those things happened in the past, right? The world was a different place. I don't know, man. It's like, like let's say 30 years from now, let's say we've got lab-grown meat done perfectly. Like, would you call every single person in this era a murderer because they were eating like non-vegan food? I don't know. It just seems, I'm not sure. If Gaza is actually cleaned out and Palestinians are forced to relocate, would you call it an ethnic cleansing? Yeah, 100%. Of course, easily. I think that I would go as far as to say if any Palestinians are forced out of the Gaza Strip and not allowed to return without there being like concrete security reasons, like we know this guy worked with Hamas, not just like, oh, he's a fighting aged male, I think that would qualify as ethnic cleansing. Like if 50,000 people weren't allowed to return because, oh, we don't think it, whatever, they're just not allowed, like that, I would think that would be a bit of, I think you could consider that at least partially like an ethnic cleansing. Yeah. I'm still, read this, yo. I still haven't found this thing. Hold on, fuck me. This is like my number one fear right now. And I think we should all be afraid of this a little bit more. But I also don't know what to do about it. Also, we need to find like, although this is going to be a little bit harder from my position now for a little bit, but we need to find like positive things to do. One of the things that I liked, I think Ben Wickler said this when I was speaking to him, is like etching out like small victories is really important because it makes it feel like you're fighting towards something and you're being productive and you're like achieving small measurable wins. I think that's really important to find right now, because otherwise it's just like unimaginable levels of doomerism, which is not good. Yeah. Destiny, not sure how to describe it, but I feel like ethnic cleansing isn't a great term for situations like this because they're not being moved because they're an ethnicity. Does that make any sense? Lumi, I think I maybe could agree with you, but I think the overall context is that like Israel wants to annex the Gaza. Well, let me be clear. Israel doesn't want to annex the Gaza Strip per se, but they want to control all of this territory and have it brought into Israel proper. They just can't because of the demographic concern, because they're not going to be enough ethnic Jewish people. So if you're preventing people from returning to an area and you're expelling them after a war, like the war, I would never say this war was started for ethnic cleansing reasons. I think that that's a morally bankrupt and intellectually bankrupt argument. But if that's the result that happens afterwards, you're kicking people out from the Gaza Strip. You're not letting them go back for arbitrary reasons. And we all know that the grand design of Israel is ideally to be able to absorb the Gaza Strip, or not first, but like to absorb the West Bank while maintaining your demographic superiority. It's hard not to call it. It's hard not to call that an ethnic cleansing. How is Palestinian not an ethnicity? Well, it's an ethnicity and a nationality, which is difficult, but why Gaza? I get the West Bank, but why Gaza? Destiny, there's no historical significance. Well, I mean, like it would all be nice to have, but it would just be nice because then they could get rid of the problem of like the Palestinian problem is like one of the biggest, like, not to be dismissive of the whole group of people, but it's like one of the biggest like thorns in the side of the whole Middle East. The fact that Israel hasn't figured out how to deal with this issue yet, and the can is just being kicked down the road more and more and more after this huge bump we just had recently with the war and everything. Would you be okay with the U.S. acquiring Greenland if we did so by bribing the locals to vote to secede from Denmark? I don't think you should be able to vote to secede from your country. I don't think that's how countries or borders or anything work anymore, absent some like horrific crimes that are occurring or something. Greenland is not Denmark. Greenland is owned by Denmark, no? You guys keep saying it's an autonomous zone, but like wouldn't U.S. territories count or be considered like semi-autonomous or whatever? Like they're not necessarily part of the federal. I don't know what counts as like semi-autonomous. Greenland is its own country. I'm pretty sure Greenland is formally owned by Denmark, though. No. Like Crimea was semi-autonomous as well. How do you feel about being able to renounce your citizenship? Do you think you should not have that right? I think generally people don't let you do that or don't want you to do that. One of the big issues that we have in the world, it's not a huge issue, but because people are so against it, is you don't ever want to have stateless people. Stateless people are really, really difficult to deal with, and nobody wants that ever, because it's just like, what the fuck do you do? Whose jurisdiction applies? If they do something wrong, where do you ship them back to? Who's responsible? Like so I don't know if you can, I don't know if you're allowed to renounce your citizenship if you don't have another citizenship, like already. I don't know if you're allowed to do that.